Willkommen to the city of Hamburg, Germany. In fact, I should actually reference it by its actual legal name, the Free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg, Germany. Huh, what does that mean? That's what this little rant is all about, because this whole term of Hansa or Hanseatic is fascinating to me and might actually have some real play in the future of where city-states are going on the planet, and certainly where Hamburg and other states like it in northern Germany are going. So 2 points to make. Let's see if I can make them both. Hopefully Katie will remind me to make both of them before the end of this round. So we're here in Hamburg, Germany. The second largest port in Europe, after Rotterdam, I believe. The 10th largest port on planet Earth. A fantastically urbanized, rich, cosmopolitan setting. One of the greatest cities of Europe. Certainly one of the greatest cities of Germany. Second biggest city in population after Berlin. And while Berlin, Germany, is definitely the political center, the political capital of Germany proper, I believe, and I'm just speculating here because I'm not a German, but I am starting to feel after several days here in Hamburg that Hamburg is the economic capital of Germany. This place is just exceedingly wealthy. When I was on a tour here earlier, the first day here, on a walking tour of this very rich city, the tour guide said that there was 46,000 millionaires here in Hamburg. I think that number seems slightly inflated, and maybe there was something lost in translation. I'm thinking 4,600, not 46,000. But you know what? In either case, that's a hell lot of people with a hell lot of money. So how did this come to pass that this particular place here in Germany has become so uber wealthy over the centuries right on into the modern day? And it's not going anywhere. Now we go back to the term that I started with, the Free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Hamburg is quite unique here in Germany in that it's a city. It's a city, but it's also a state. And what I mean by that is Germany is a kind of federal republic, much like the United States, where there are 50 states of the United States. There are 16 states here in the sovereign state of Germany. And Hamburg is its own city/state. It's kind of like Washington, D.C. is in America, its own little political entity. However, it's more solid here in Germany. Hamburg is a state of Germany, one of the 16. How did it get so rich, and what's that got to do with anything? This term Hanseatic that I keep bringing up, the Hansa or the Hanseatic League. The Hanseatic League was this group of city-states. Actually, it was more like group of free cities that had its peak of power in the 12th, the 13th, and 14th century. So we're talking about a while ago. But what it was a coalition of these free states or city-states in kind of a trade bloc, something similar to a trade bloc here in the modern era, but of cities instead of states. And these guys, being exceptionally rich and powerful centers of trade in Northern Europe, all across the Baltic into the North Sea, kind of unified themselves under this umbrella of, hey, we're not really beholden to any kingdoms or any states or any other higher powers. We're our own free states, or free city-states in our own right, and we're going to band ourselves together in this Hanseatic League to provide for a common defense, common trade laws, essentially, again, kind of like a free trade area that these little cities really brokered and controlled all of the trade across the Baltic into the North Sea, and as far away as England. The center of this Hanseatic League, at its height of power, was Lübeck, which is that way. We're now in Hamburg, perhaps the second or third most powerful state within the Hanseatic League, or city within the Hanseatic League. And it's interesting that Lübeck is now a kind of small, quaint German town over there on the Baltic Sea, of no great consequence. No offense to my Lübeck friends, but it was the center back in the day. Lübeck, I thought it was an R in there. Lübeck, friends, Lübeck, whichever. It was the center of the Hanseatic League back in its day, but it's over there on the Baltic now. Whereas Hamburg feeds through the river Elbe here and leads out to the North Sea and the wider rest of the world. So this Hanseatic League back in the day actually linked up places as far afield as Novgorod, Russia, which is actually inland or upriver from St. Petersburg, Russia in today's world, Danzig, Poland, Lübeck, Hamburg, down to what is now Amsterdam, all the way over to London. This was a Northern European trade bloc of significant power, and now that brings me back to what I'm ranting about. Why is the city so rich back in the day? Still so rich, still referring to itself seriously in the modern era as the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg? Two things. Whenever this trade bloc, trade union, whatever you want to call it, formed up in the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th centuries, and that's a long time ago, I know, but when they did this, what people have forgotten is that that's a point in history that Europe was just coming out of the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages. And the power for most of Europeans' history has been in the south, the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is where the action has been for most of European history. Think of the Phoenicians, then to the Greek Empire. Then Alexander the Great ruled the Mediterranean. Then the Roman Empire, which took over from them. Then the Portuguese Empire. Then the Spanish Empire. These are all Mediterranean-based empires. That's where most of the economic and political action has been for Europe for most of its history. But the North starts to become developed at the closing end of the Middle/Dark Ages, getting closer in the last 1,000 years of history. The political power shifts when Charlemagne, this guy who we kind of consider the original ruler of France, created this thing called the Holy Roman Empire back in 800 AD. I know it's a long time ago. But his empire was from northern France, and he reunified in an attempt to recreate the Roman Empire of the south. He created this Holy Roman Empire, which was centered in the north, in northern France, and consisted of lands that are Gaul and what's now France, and Central Europe, all the way over to Northern Europe. The predecessor states of the Holy Roman Empire really were Germany and France. And that all started in the north with the unification of the Holy Roman Empire in 800 AD. Of course, that's going to go away, and empires are going to split up. And again, that's going to become something called Germany another 800 years later, and something called France shortly after that. But the point I'm trying to make is that the political power starts to shift into Northern Europe at that time, 800, 900, 1000 AD, and then to the Hanseatic League, 1100, 1200, 1300. The economic focus of Europe starts to shift northward in a very big way as well. The Mediterranean, although still powerful, still had lots of trade going on there. You had city-states like Venice that were at its apex at that time, but it's at that exact point in history that things start to shift away from the Med and here up to the northern part of Europe. The Baltic, going out to the River Elbe into the North Sea and then over to the Baltic Sea. This is Hanseatic territory. This is where these folks start to get really rich in trade, of goods and services and lots of other things, including manufacturing. In fact, the Hanseatic League, because it was so hip and so happening, really brought the Renaissance to Northern Europe before we even had anything called the Renaissance in Southern Europe. Everyone thinks of the Renaissance as, oh, that's an Italian thing, and the Spanish and the age of colonization all occurred around the Med. Yeah, that's true to a certain degree, but these folks up in here, up in this Hamburg Hizzle, over to Lübeck, all the way over to Danzig, all the way over to Novgorod, Russia, they were happening as well, 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries. This was a manufacturing center. This was a trade apex, a trade center. These people were getting rich, and that's the point I'm trying to make. First point of this whole Hanseatic rap. Northern Europe takes over as the economic and political center of Europe 1,000 years ago, and it has never turned back. Let's think about today's 21st century. Where are the richest countries of Europe? Where are the richest countries? Germany? The Germans are the richest state in Europe, period, with no close second. Okay, but what are the close second, third, and fourth? The UK is pretty rich. It's over that direction, Northern Europe. While they don't have a huge GDP total, GDP per capita, that is wealth per person. We're the richest per person states. Let's see, Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, Finland, some of the highest standards of living in Europe. Yep. Where else? Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Denmark. That's Northern Europe too. And guess who's a big up-and-comer since the end of the Cold War? Poland. Poland is a huge state that's getting richer and richer and richer as well in today's world. The money of Europe in the 21st century is Northern Europe, where we're centered at right now, and it's around the Baltic, and it's where the Hansantic League took hold 800 years ago and moved the focus of economic power of Europe here to the north. Okay, that's point one. Still going strong. What's point two? Much more intriguing and interesting, I think. Why does the city of Hamburg in 2013 reference itself as the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg? That's like some throw off to 1,000 years ago. Why would they do this? I think we are starting to see an evolution of political power back away from the sovereign state as the center of all power on the planet to perhaps a diffusion of power back to a more localized level of a city-state. Now, this is completely hypothetical. I'm just making this shizzle up. But Hamburg has referenced themselves as the Hanseatic city of Hamburg for very good reason. And I think that there is a bit of tension between states like this that are exceptionally rich, cities like this that are exceptionally rich, that may or may not be that beholden to the state of Germany. What do they care if they're in Germany or Denmark or the Netherlands? This is the city of Hamburg, first and foremost. The free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. That's how they identify themselves. And are we now moving to a world in which huge metropolitan areas and centers of trade are perhaps going to trump the power of a sovereign state? I think we may be. Really, who's more powerful? The city of Manhattan or the state of New York? Or even the state of the United States of America? That's a judgment call. Who's more powerful and more important? The city of Hamburg or the state of Germany? Well, both of them are pretty rich and pretty powerful. But does Hamburg need Germany? I don't know. We are living through times where we're unsure of what power block is the standard default. For the last 60 to 100 years, it's been the sovereign state. Will that continue on into the future? Unknown. And it looks like these European cities like Hamburg, like Amsterdam, like London, like St. Petersburg, maybe they're so powerful in their own right that their self-interest lies in being perhaps slightly separate from the whole sovereign state entity. Yes, they're located in a sovereign state, but do they care? Do they need money from the sovereign state? Truly, Hamburg is so rich, there's so many millionaires here. Do you think they actually need money from the state of Germany to operate this awesome port facility? I think not. I don't know if you can see it off in the distance there. I can't tell. Can you see the Opera House from here? Go ahead and pan over. Let's do it to finish this up. Pan over just a little bit to catch that Opera House. Learn this on the tour. This Opera House is a $1 billion structure, okay? It's actually, the city of Hamburg is suing the people that are building the Opera House because it was originally supposed to cost like $500 million and now it's gonna cost $1.5 billion. The point I'm trying to make with this is, who the hell builds $1 billion opera houses? Opulent cities do. The state of Germany's not building that opera house. This town is so rich with so much money that they do grandiose things like build awesome squares, a huge fish market that's right behind us, great port facilities, and $1 billion opera houses. Why? Because they can. That's what they're doing. The state's not doing that, the city's doing it. So are we living through a evolution of political power from the sovereign state to more important city-states? I don't know, but it's fascinating, and Hamburg will lead the way in that. And that, my friends, is why they refer to themselves as the free und Hanseatic city of Hamburg. They're a German city, but they're a Hamburg city first and foremost. So political power and economic power diffusion from South Europe to North Europe, that's one. And the evolution or devolution of power from the sovereign state to the city-state that we may be experiencing right now. That's what's so fascinating about Hamburg.